Hello, hello, everyone. Oh my God. I cannot believe that I'm seeing you in 2025. Like, we made it, right? So, not because we are any special than anyone else who didn't make it. God only knows, Goddess only knows, the universe only knows. But hey, you know what? We're grateful that we are here in 2025 and we are ready to set 2025 on fire. Whatever that means for each and every one of us, right? Anyways, you guys, I got lots of great things to share with you, so please don't go anywhere. All right, Jambo, Karibu, welcome to my channel. My name is Chilanda and this is Library Without Borders. Anyways, y'all, check the afro. I try to have that whole round sphere. It's a whole thing, but we gonna do with this, okay? It's the best I could accomplish. Anyways, you guys, so how was your holiday? I hope you guys, had a good time, that you spent time with your families, that you just enjoyed whatever that meant for you. The other day I was scrolling on Instagram. Haven't been on TikTok because TikTok literally gives me anxiety. But then I was seeing all these memes about how, people over 30, how they spend New Year's Eve and New Year's Day at home. Some of them couldn't even wait for midnight to hit because they were already ready for bed by 8. And I was laughing. As for my family and I, we stayed in and we just partied with my kids. It was just Bay and I and the 4 children, and we partied till 2 a.m. Although I was already exhausted by 1 a.m. I was like, no, we're gonna do this, and then sort of almost passed out like around 2:30 a.m. But that's essentially what we did and we're happy. Anyways, you guys, so in today's video I want to share with you my top 10 of the whole 2024, of the whole year 2024. Now, I went back and forth, revisited some of my videos just to remember what were my top 4s, my highest rated books, and I almost wanted to I tried to take a book each month that was highly rated, but there was so many books I wanted to talk to you about, but then I was like, no, they're part of all these previous videos, and I've done my best to review them in those previous videos, so that this one is just to mention the top 10, but it doesn't undermine the ones that will not be in this top 10. It's my personal top 10. That's all it is. All right, you guys, so without further ado, since I don't want this video to be long because I got much more videos to film, let's go through this. We're gonna go. So at number 10 we have Eleanor Shear, River Sing Me Home. Now, this book, I've already talked about it. I cried, but it's during emancipation. The Emancipation Act of 1834 will come into effect on the plantation of Barbados. And it's about this mom who's gonna go on a journey to find all her 7 children. And it was just the way the story was told, the journey, the unbearable pain that slavery brought to people, and the perseverance of this mom to face any obstacles in order to find all her children. And you will also hear about the journey of those children and how unlikely it is for a mother to travel not only the whole Barbados area but also surrounding areas to find her children. And some of them were still alive, some you don't know, but like I said, it was just such a heartfelt story for me as a mom. Every chapter I was like, whew, I was breathing hard, and at some point I cried so much. There's just this heartbreaking part in the book, and I remember I spoke about it, like I said, in a previous video where I'm reviewing this book. It was a book that I chose and we read with my book club ladies, and as moms we were just like, damn. So anyways, so this is number 10. Before I continue, y'all, I decided to do 2 parts. Like, if you remember, last year I did just my top 11 of the year, 2023, but I also had my top 10, the African edition. So because I had so many books, I was like, okay, you know what? This first part that I'm filming right now is just gonna be various authors from different backgrounds. And then I will have the video that is specifically geared towards African authors, okay? So let's go on. At number 9, we have the Book of Everlasting Things, okay, by I don't know if it's Enchal Malhotra. Now, this book was, I believe it was like 4.75. It was a fantastic book, and I recently just finished reading it. I think it was in November, if I'm not mistaken. It is a book that is set in India, and it is during the time where Pakistani and India will separate. And in the midst of that separation, we follow two lovers who, before India separated, they were just one united people, right? You had the Muslim Indians, and then you had the non-Muslim Indians. But at the wake of that separation, now you have two countries, one Muslim, Pakistani, and then the Indians, if I'm not mistaken, okay? And you have two people, young people, who will fall in love, but then you follow, and it's a multi-generational story, so you will follow the descendant of those two people. It's the love story, but I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but it was a great story. Like, outside of the other aspects that I had mentioned in my review of this video, which was a lot of the perfume aspect that was being talked about. It was really detailed in the making of the perfumes and so on. But it also talked about World War I and World War II. It also mentioned when India took its independence for the British Empire. You have all those history aspects, which I love to now call history galore. You know, I was good. Like, I was loving all of that. Yeah, besides all that details, the story itself and the way it was written and listening about those two people, it was a great book. Like, it was really good. At number 8, we have The Mountains Sing. Oh, all these books were so emotional, so emotional. You know, now this book is set in China. Vietnam War, sorry, not China, against the backdrop of the Vietnam War. And we follow Du Len and her granddaughter Wang. Like I said, I reviewed this again, maybe, I think it was August or September, but I spoke about this and how from chapter till the end, I was like literally crying. It's set against the war, you guys. So what do you imagine? You hear about bombardments of people, like children, of human beings, and you hear of killings, and you have this grandmother with the granddaughter. Those are the two main characters, and it's also multi-generational a little bit. You hear about her journey and her children during the Vietnam War, what she went through, how much killing happened in her family, her village, and her through it, making it through the war and rebuilding her life. Oh my gosh, I have goosebumps. You guys, like I said, I talked about this book. I think I spent like way too much time. So The Mountains Sing, it will and then and maybe rebuild you a little. We have a number 7. Now, I haven't really talked about this book. It's actually in my wrap up for the month of December. But I read this book. This was among my anticipated reads for 2024. And I'm also going to talk to you about all the new releases for 2024 that I read and the ones that I didn't get to. Okay? But it's a love song for Ricky Wilde by T. Williams. Now, I listened to this on audio. It was a good story. A little at the beginning, I was a little bit like, you know, I wasn't too captivated, you know. But as soon as the story moved along, I was like, oh, okay. So it's obviously Ezra. It's a story of Ezra and Ricky. Ricky is this young girl, and Ezra is this 100-year-old man. Yes, there's that whole magic realism, and I believe a lot of people were not too fond of that aspect. But I thought apart from that, I mean, I read one book by Tia Williams. I enjoyed it, 7 Days in June. So I was like, why not, you know? And it's the story of Ezra and Ricky. And Ezra has this curse on him where he's basically meant to live forever, okay? And that was because he had broken someone's heart and that person did a hex on him, okay? And then Ricky is his love interest, but he does everything so as not for them to meet, because without spoiling the story for you guys, the curse was that if he falls in love, he shall see the love of his life die. So anyways, like I said, I don't want to say too much, plus I'm going to talk a little bit more about my wrap up, and I don't want to spoil for you guys, but it was good. It was really good. I liked it. And since I haven't rated for you guys, just know that it is above 4, okay? And that's why it made the list, okay? So this is a number 7. And then at number 6, we have The Secret Book of Flora Lee. This book was such a surprise to me because I didn't know what to expect. But, you know, once I read it, I think I even posted it on my community tab and I already talked about it, and I was pleasantly surprised. It's about these 2 sisters, again, set against the backdrop of, is it Hitler's War? And they're bombarding, the Second World War. And it's in England. So what happens is that these 2 sisters are in the midst of this war, and they are taken in a different village so as not to be killed, right? And throughout their journey in that village, the big sister is telling her little sister this story of this never existing land that they called the Whisperwood and the River of Stars. So as I said, I already talked about it, but essentially if something happens to her little sister, then a few years after, she is still looking for her sister because they never found out what happened to her little sister. And what will open the case again is someone who sends, not her per se, but to the library where she works, or the bookshop where she works, they will send her a manuscript of the Whisperwood and the River of Stars. And she's like, there's only one person who knows that story, and that's her little sister. And what's going on? And y'all, that story picked up and I was like, so anyways, I really love this story. And again, it was among my highly rated books in year 2024. So that's a number 6. So at number 5, we have All That We Were Promised by Ashton Lattimore. Again, I raved about this book. I really enjoyed it. I think I read it in September because of the colors here. And it's about these 3 women. It's set during the, is it civil Philadelphia 1837? The White Oaks Plantation. I believe it's during the Civil War, 1837. It's about these 3 women who come from different backgrounds. You have one who escapes from the plantation with her father who can pass for white. Is that Charlotte? Yeah, it's Charlotte. And then you have Nell. Nell is this black woman who's grown up into high society of black people. And then you have the other Evie. I think Evie. And Evie was this other enslaved woman, or girl, who grew up with Charlotte on the old plantation. So those 2 girls, Evie and Charlotte, were on that same plantation, but like I already talked about this book previously, during those times when enslaved people had to make a run for it, you had no time to be like, oh, my friend, you want to go. You knew that that's not, it wouldn't work, right? So her and her father left, and they left whoever they left behind. So Evie was left behind, and then suddenly she's found herself in Philadelphia with her mistress, because her mistress has made up this whole lie that she's engaged, betrothed to this white man. During all of that, you have the historical aspects of how you have these women who are fighting to free the rest of Philadelphia, to abolish slavery. So that was essentially the story. As I said, I'm literally trying to not over talk again or over explain, because I have already talked about this thoroughly. If y'all know me, you know whenever I review a book, I review it thoroughly. So this is a number 5. Number 4, we have, this was also an anticipated read of mine for 2024, and it's The American Queen by Vanessa Miller. I love this book. I listened to it on audio and I loved the narrator. She did a fantastic job, and I think I spoke about how there are some parts in the book where they're singing, and she was actually singing in the audio, and I loved her voice. It's essentially the story of Luella. Yes. So she's enslaved on the Montgomery plantation. Now, her story is of course tragic. What do you expect during that time? But in every story that has tragedy, sometimes there's also hope, and there is an end where they've surmounted those tragedies and lived a life. And that's the story of Luella. So Luella and her husband, who is a pastor, decides that they're gonna leave that Montgomery plantation and seek out a better life further. I'm not sure where they traveled. It was them traveling to a better place within the United States there, and build a land that was called Happy Land. Okay, and they were essentially crowned king and kingdom, Luella and her husband. And it's the story of them meeting people on that journey to building Happy Land. And it was so fascinating that it was actually based on a real story. So I love that. I've reviewed this thoroughly, and I can't link on my videos, y'all. But if you are so inclined, you can just go and check my videos. I think starting like in January, and just go and see where you can see the pictures of these books. And if you want more reviews in depth, you can just check those videos, right? But anyway, so this was also a fantastic book. Next, we have number 3, The Diplomat's Daughter by Karen Tanabe. That was my first book, and ever since then, I've loved the writing of this author. So it is essentially the story, of a diplomat. So it's Japan during the Pearl Harbor bombing. That's when the story is set. Yes, 1941 bombing of Pearl Harbor. And what happens is that she is the daughter of a Japanese diplomat. They're in the United States, there for diplomatic work. But at the wake of that Pearl Harbor bombing, things change, right? So now they have to leave the United States. But before they leave the United States, they're brought, I think it was somewhere in Texas. They brought somewhere within the United States where they had all these Germans, Japanese in that same compound before they were shipping them away to their respective countries. But at the core of that war and the story of Emi Kato, she has 2 love interests. One is German and one is Jewish. Like I said, I already talked about it, but y'all can just imagine the story, the passion, the love that flourished between Emi and these 2 men. It was interesting. Like I said, outside of that, there's also the historical aspect of the war, which again was really interesting because my heart was beating so fast. There's some point where she is sent back to Japan, and you hear about starvation. Y'all know what war can do. And you talk about the consequences of the war and how she was starving and her people were starving. And then you also have the side of, because it's different POVs as well. There's different POVs in this book. So you hear directly from the German, what's his name? Christian. And then you hear also directly from, what's the name of the Jewish? Leo. Leo is the Jewish. So you hear their perspective and what they go through during the Hitler takeover. Y'all, like I said, history galore. I was like, yes. Highly rated. So this was a number 3. Okay, at number two. Okay, obviously I can't do one, but it's this series, okay? The Lazar Saga family. Oh my God. Oh, the Lazar family saga. You guys, I'm done talking about it because we will be here forever. But that's a number 2. I enjoyed that series. I have raved about that series ever since I discovered the first book, which was Necessary Sins. And the thing is, it was just there on my shelf, and I was like, it had been there, but I was like, something just pulled me to it, and I was like, woo! And I can't talk about it, but I mean, the priest, yeah, with Teresa in the first book. I'm gonna leave it there. Second book, it's still the priest and Teresa, but then you are introduced to a second part, which is David, who's the son of the priest's sister. Now, see, I don't want to confuse y'all. And then in the third book, we follow now the story of David and then the daughter of Teresa. Okay? Anyways, but like I said, I've already talked about this. What I loved about it, besides the love interest and the love, the passion, the sex, it was the historical facts that I've learned about Indians, about black people, about white people, about the race. And I loved every aspect of it, even if some of those aspects were brutal, were cringing, were hurtful. It was historical facts. And as I mentioned, the way I knew of those was because I had read so many books. It starts in 1789 to 1844, the first book, so the 1700s, right? So you can just imagine what was going on in Charlestown during that time in the United States, okay? So, like I said, I'm sorry, I love this series. Elizabeth Bell. So, now, drum rolls, please. Our number one. Okay. My number one. Y'all ready for it? Ta-da! Yes, yes, yes. It is this book, Homegoing. I read it in January of 2024 and I was like, did I just discover my first 5-star rated book? And it was my first 5-star rated book, because in 2023 I had no 5-star, but this one, it was 5-star because it spoke to what I had been looking for in a book written by an African about a story set during slavery time. But I wanted it now from the people who stayed in Africa, and she gave it to me, and I was so pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh my God, it's the story of two sisters. One will be shipped onto the slavery boats in the United States, and then one will stay in West Africa, and then you follow basically their descendants through the different periods of time till basically I think 2000. You know, I would not do justice. Okay, I already tried to explain it in January, but it was done so originally. And this is coming from us people who have read books about enslaved people. So when I said this was original, I had never read something done this way. So, Homegoing by Agassi, like number one. Okay, you guys, so there you have it. Those are my top 10, okay? But I do want to mention, I think I have a few honorable mentions, as people call it. I have to mention James. I finished reading James, and again, I didn't get a chance to really talk about it, but I enjoy that book. I've never read the original Huckleberry story, but James, like, it would have been part of my list, but I was like, I needed time to sit with it. You know what I mean? All these other books, I had time to sit with them, and I kept pulling them out of the shelf. So that's why they had to be there. They had to be mentioned. So James, Daughter of a Queen. So that's 2. I also just finished reading for December. I'll tell you, I think I had a vlog about it. It bears to be mentioned. It was also a great story. The 12 Tribes of Haiti by Ayanna Mathis. And then we have, I wanted to mention The Shadow of the Wind, which was, I think, mystery. Was it true crime? It was one of those pick that one of the book club ladies chose, and it was actually fantastic. I enjoyed that book. So yeah. Hookshot by Kennedy Ryan. I'm sorry, don't come for me. 5. Yes, Hookshot by Kennedy Ryan, of course. I enjoyed that book. So there, those are 5 honorable mentions. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoy this video. I am looking forward to making more videos for you guys and just lots of great things. Okay, so on this note, I shall bid you goodbye and I will see you in my next video. So please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. But in terms of comment, if you don't want to write something, please leave me. Is there emoji for 2024? Maybe you can put stack of books and 2024. Does that make sense? All right, you guys. So that's it from me. I'll see you